L'chaim, nice to see you. Hello, everybody. We're going to have some fun tonight. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Without any introduction, we have some major shifting that's about to happen in the Megillah. So tonight's shir is brought to you live from the Hayes house in memory of Joanne Tepler, the Neshama should have an Aliyah. And last time on travels with the Achaemenid Persian Empire, yeah. And Yisrael ben Menachem Mendel. That's right, that the Neshama should have an Aliyah, exactly. So last time, Esther has just invited Achashverosh and Haman to a party. And then at the party, Achashverosh is like, okay, so what do you want? And Esther goes, well, I would like you to come to another party. And of course, that is insane. I think that's one of the hardest questions of the Megillah to answer. It doesn't make any sense, right? This is, you have to imagine, right? You have to imagine all the preparation that went into this moment. The entirety of the Jewish community, and I mean everybody, fast for 3 days. That's major. Like, that's major. Just fasting for 3 days, very, very major. By the way, when were they fasting? Pesach. They're fasting on Pesach. So they do not eat matzah for the only time in history. It's huge. It's cosmic. And then it's time, and Esther's there, and it's the day. It's finally the day. And she's been waiting for the day, and she goes in, and Achashverosh is like, "What do you want?" And she goes, "Another party tomorrow." And we said that's crazy. This mom's crazy. Right? It makes no sense. And what we answered was, without going into it too deeply, we understood that that's actually what tzniut means. That people think that sanua, that tznius, people think that sanua means modest, and that's simply not true. It means unassertive. And we said that Esther, so the Gemara says that from the tznius that Rachel had, she was zoche that Shaul should come from her with his tremendous tznius, and from the tznius that Shaul had, and from the tznius that Shaul had, he was zoche that Esther came from him. And we said, what's the great tznius of Esther? Where do you find this tremendous unassertive character trait of Esther? And the answer is she was sitting at the party, Achashverosh to the right, Haman to the left. It was the moment, and Achashverosh said, what do you want? And she goes, not going to take the shot. Unbelievable, not going to take the shot. You say, why didn't she take the shot? And the answer is because the shot wasn't there. Because it wasn't there. There was no reason for her to believe that at that moment, if she would have shot, she would have won, and she didn't. And that's incredible. I mean, it's actually mind-blowing. So instead, she says, come again tomorrow. And what did she understand what happened the next day? Nothing. She had no idea. But that comes to an end. And of course, there are 3 people at that party. Once again, there's 3 people at the party. There's Esther, there's Achashverosh, and there's Haman. And here's how they leave. Esther walks out of that party freaking out. What's going to happen tomorrow? Is everybody going to die? Is he walking into Auschwitz? She has no idea. Achashverosh leaves the party thinking, is my best friend doing my wife? That's exactly what he's thinking, because why does she keep inviting me and him to a party and it's just him and me? Like, is she trying to tell me something, right? I'm getting into his head. She's really getting into his head. And then Haman leaves the party, right? So they're miserable, right? Achashverosh and Esther are both miserable. And Haman walks out the party like, right? Greatest day in the world for Haman. Except, of course, when he goes out, he sees Mordechai, and he's like, I can't take this. I was having the greatest day in the world, and Mordechai came and just like, essentially, what he did all over my great day, okay? So this is just like the worst. And he goes home, and he says to Zeresh's wife, what should I do? And she says, hang him on a 50-foot pole. And he goes, it's a great idea. I'm going to do that. Fine. For more information, you'll have to watch class number 5. We're not going to go deeper into that. He turns around, he walks back to the palace, and now we begin with chapter 6. By Laila Hahu, on that night, Nadida Shnas HaMelech, the sleep of the king. Nadida. The word nad neda means shook back and forth. It means he couldn't sleep, but it doesn't just mean he couldn't sleep, right? The word nadida means nud. The word nud comes up, the first time it comes up in the Torah is actually very, very much in the beginning of the Torah. The first time it comes up in the Torah is Parshas Bereshis, because after Cain kills Hevel, Hashem gives him a curse. And he says, you're going to have to leave the garden. He banishes from Eden, and he says, na vanad tehiyeh ba'aretz. Na means it means to wander without a space. So his thoughts were wandering. He wasn't able to focus. Every time he would go this way with a thought, boom, it keeps coming back because something's very, very deep in his mind. He can't sleep. So what does he do? Vayomer lehavi sefer hazichronos divrei hayamim vayihiyu nikraim lifnei hamelach. So he says, bring me the book of the king. Bring me the book of the king and let it be read before me, because something's getting in his head. The Gemara explains why. I understand you can't sleep, so you go bring me the book of state, said no one ever, right? When Joe Biden can't sleep, he asks Jill to like sing him nursery rhymes. He doesn't say, "Can you please bring me the next tax code so that I can read it in bed?" Right? That's not what you do. So why is he doing this? The Gemara explains because he's sitting there thinking something's going on, right? Like this doesn't make any sense. This is my wife. This is my best friend. Something's happening here, and nobody's telling me. Why would nobody tell me? Come on, right? Bros, there's a code. So someone would come in and be like, "Yo, King," right? But no one's telling me anything. So the Gemara says, he says to himself, why would someone not want to tell me? Well, the easiest reason why someone wouldn't want to tell me is because it's not going to be in their benefit. But why would it not be in the benefit for somebody to help me? Bring a book. So he brings the book. Vayimatzei katuv. This is the greatest pasuk. Vayimatzei katuv. It was found to have been written. Asher higid Mordechai al bikson of Asera shnei so he say Amelech Mishomrei Asaf. Asher bishulish loch yad b'melech Achashverosh. And it was found to be written that Mordechai told on Big Sana and Teresh, the two musketeers, the two Secret Service guys that tried to kill Achashverosh. But you understand when you read the pasuk doesn't make any sense because Vayimatzei katuv, it was found to have been written. That's not how you say it. How would you say it? You'd say, and it was written. It was found to have been written. It doesn't make sense. What was found? Vayimatzei, it was found. And the answer is, says the Gemara, because it was wiped from the record. You see, there are two books, and we mentioned this at the very, very tail end of chapter 2. The last sentence of chapter 2 is Vayivukash Davar Vayimatzei, which means they looked into it and found it. Vayitalu Shnehem al Eitz, and they hanged them both. Vayikasei v'sefer Divrei Hayamim Lifnei HaMelech, and it was written in the book of Chronicles before the king. And the Malbim says, what do you mean before the king? You just say it was written in the book of Chronicles. And he says, because there are two books of Chronicles. There's an official book of Chronicles that sits in the Library of Congress, so to speak. And then there's the private book of Chronicles, and that's in the king's study. Now, the one that was outside, the official book that's there for the state, has the secretary of scribbledom. He's the one who's in charge of that. And who was that? Shamshai, son of Haman. So obviously, if you're the son of Haman and you're running CNN's not going to run the story of how Morty saved the king. They're going to quash the story, and you will never hear the story. So the story disappeared. But it wasn't wiped from the other book because Shamshai doesn't have access to that book. So the Gemara asks, but why would it have been salvaged? It was a miracle, literally a miracle that stayed in there. Why was it salvaged? And Gemara says, not because anybody loved Mordechai, but because they hated Haman. And that becomes very important soon. They hated Haman. And therefore, they let it remain in the book because they couldn't stand him so much. Like, you shouldn't think, God forbid, anybody was loving Jews at the time. No, they couldn't stand the Jews. But you know who they hated also? That guy. Because tell me, the second that Haman becomes elevated, what does he do? Bow to me. Everybody can't stand him. So it was found to have been written. Oh. Vayomer HaMelech, and the king says, what majesty and greatness was done to Mordechai on this? And the king's lads, the king's dudes, said to him, Lo nasa imo davar. Nothing. But you see, it's so much better than that, don't you see? He said, what was done? Yakar ugdula. Yakar means majesty. Majesty. He didn't say, what was the reward? Did you send him a check? That wasn't the question. What was done? Greatness and majesty. Because he saved my life. So obviously, if he saved my life, I mean, did you see the boat parade that Tampa Bay threw for the Buccaneers? Okay, this guy saved my life. If that's the party that you guys throw when they bring a hunk of metal home, what kind of a parade are you going to throw for the guy that saved the king's life? What kind of majesty and grandeur are you going to do? And what the answer is nothing, but they don't say nothing. They don't say klum. They say lo na'asa imo davar. Listen to the words. Lo na'asa imo davar. Nothing was done with him. Meaning they're saying more than just nothing. They're saying, oh, with him, nothing could be done. Meaning they are intimating to the king that it was quashed. And that's why nothing happened. Lo na'asa imo davar. Nothing of that man can happen. Nothing happened. Oh. Vayomer HaMelech mi bechatzer. And the king said, who's in the courtyard? What do you mean, who's in the courtyard? Why is that on the heels of this? Because just then, they hear a knock at the door. He says, who's there? The Haman ba. Oh, wouldn't you know it? Haman is coming. Lachatzar beis hamelech hachitzona, to the outer courtyard of the king's palace. Le'mor lamelech lislosis Mordechai ala eitz asher hichin lo, to tell the king that he wants to hang Morty on the tree that he made ready for him. But you see why it's so good, don't you? We said that Esther invites Mordecai and Haman to a party. We say, why'd you do that? And the answer is to get in his head and make him insanely jealous. Because the best way to get your husband to hate his best friend is to say he made a pass at me. So that's how she gets them to the party. That's why she gets them to the party. So obviously he's very, very upset. He doesn't know what's going on. She tells him to get to another party, and now he can't sleep. Wonderful. Meanwhile, Haman goes home, decides he's going to come back and tell the king to slay Mordecai. And it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and the king can't sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning. And all of a sudden, there's a knock at the door. He goes, who's that? Haman. Oh, Haman. Why is Haman in my house at 3 o'clock in the morning? Haman just keeps digging himself deeper, deeper, deeper all the time. Deeper, deeper, deeper hole. Who's that? Oh, Vayamru Nari HaMelech Elav. Hine Haman omed b'chatzer. Hine Haman omed b'chatzer. The Malbim points out, what's Hine Haman omed b'chatzer? Behold, Haman is standing in the chatzer. It's not behold, Haman standing in the chatzer. It's, you ask who it is, the answer is Haman. Behold, Haman is standing in the chatzer means, if it isn't Haman, they're laying it on thick. They're laying it on thick. Remember, they can't stand the guy. So, Vayomer HaMelech Yavo, and the king said, let him come. Vayavo Haman, and Haman came in. Vayomer Lo HaMelech, and the king says, Ma lasos ba'isha asher HaMelech hafetz bikaro? What should be done to a man who the king really wants to give majesty to? We always say honor, but that's not true, because honor is kavod. That's not yakar. That's not yakar. Yakar means majesty. So, Vayomer Haman b'libo, and Haman says in his heart, everybody. I mean, who in the world would the king possibly want to do good for except me, right? Obviously, it's all about me. Okay. Now, before we you have to understand the next sentence in the Megillah. The next sentence in the Megillah is the craziest, most crackhead sentence that you've ever read in your life. In your life. This is what Haman says. So the Haman says to the king, a guy that the king wants to honor and do majesty for him. Everybody knows the story, very, very famous story. You should bring the royal robes that the king wore, and a horse that the king rode, and they should put a royal crown on his head. And then you give it to one of the men. We'll talk about it in a minute. And the guy's going to walk him all around the town, yada, yada, yada. Everybody knows the story, and Haman has to do it. But before we read that, I want you to understand just for a moment how insane this is. I want you to imagine this. Can you just imagine? So, Bill Gates, he has a daughter. Bill Gates has a daughter. We'll call her Sprincy. Here's the thing. Sprincy was on spring break, and she got captured by the FARC. She was captured by the FARC. Terrible. They kill people, right? I mean, they're mamish. Like, this is like dangerous, yeah? And then you do a daring hero rescue, and you crawl like Steven Seagal style, and you rescue her from the FARC. You kill all the bad guys, and you bring Sprincy back to Bill Gates. Okay, and Bill Gates is like, oh my gosh, you saved my daughter. You saved my daughter. Ask for whatever you want. Whatever you want. What would you say to Bill Gates? Tell the truth, because you're from New Jersey. You tell the truth. Tell the truth. What would you say? You just saved Sprincy Gates. Bill says, whatever you want. A la kefak. What would you ask for? Come on, you don't have to think. You know exactly what you'd ask for. You could say it. You don't? Really? Okay, help her out. What do you ask for if you say Bill Gates' daughter? Right. You say, Bill, I only want one. It's not a question. It's what everyone would say. Yes. You're right. And that's very true. That's a very good point. So I think most people would say, Bill, I just want one. Just one. Just 1 billion. Just one. You got 120 of them. Give me one. And by the way, you know what he would say? Done. You saved his daughter. You don't think he'd give you $1 billion? Exactly. It's like the commercial, yeah? So you give $1 billion. But can I tell you what happened? You're going to love this. It's my favorite part of the Megillah. So he goes over to, this is the king of the world, right? He's Bill Gates on crack times 1,000, right? And he says to him, oh, what would you like, right? What would you like? What should the king do to Bill Gates? You saved my daughter. What would you like? And you look at Bill and you say, well, Bill, I'd like to wear your pajamas. And maybe your hat. Got a hat? I'd like to wear your hat. And can I drive your car? I'd like to drive your car. I think that would be, it's perfect. Save your daughter's life. I want to wear your pants and your hat and sit in your car. Haman is out of his mind. That's insane. But why would he say that? Because Haman's not insane. Haman's the furthest thing from insane. He's evil and he's twisted and he's egomaniacal and he's a lot of things, but he's not insane. So why does he say, I want to wear your clothes and I want to wear your hat and I want to ride on your horse? And the answer is very simple, because Haman has all the money in the world. So if Elon Musk saved Bill Gates' daughter and Bill Gates said, what do you want? You know what Elon Musk is not asking for? $1 billion. Because he wouldn't know what to do or where to put another $1 billion. Just kidding, he'd put it in Bitcoin. But the point is that he doesn't need that. So Haman has all the money in the world. He said, okay, we want power. I want power. Can you give Haman any more power than he has currently? Right now, who's the one person in the world who has more power than Haman? Achashverosh. Right? So Haman can't get any elevation in power because he's already number 2. And he can't get any elevation in money because he's already worth $100 billion. So what does he ask for? He says, I'd like to wear your clothes, and I'd like to wear your hat, and I'd like to ride on your horse. That's what he says. He betrayed himself. What's Achashverosh hearing? This is my best friend who I'm pretty sure is having an affair with my wife. And why is he in my house at 3 o'clock in the morning? And then when I see him and I say, what should be done to the man who the king wants to honor? He looks at me and says, I'd like to wear your clothes and I'd like to wear your hat and I'd like to ride your horse. What else of mine do you want? What do you think Achashverosh is hearing when he says this? You know exactly what he's hearing. And the clothing and the horse should be given to one of the high-ranking officials because, I don't want to dress myself in the king's clothes. That's beneath me. But I think if the prime minister were to tie my shoes and lace them up, I think that would be, that would be nice. That would do me some honor. He'll dress him. Can't dress myself. What, you think I'm gonna dress myself in the king's clothes? Give me a break. He's gonna take a team. It's gonna be a team here, like in Cinderella, right? With all the Cinderella mice and everything. It's all dressing. Yeah. So and he will ride him on the horse in Times Square. And they will say before him, this will be done to the man that the king wants to show majesty to. It's a parade. That's the definition of a parade. So there's going to be the prime minister is going to be standing in front of Haman with a big bullhorn, walking him on the king's horse. That's what Haman's thinking. It's not going to go like that. And the king says, oh yeah, that's a great idea. My hair, quick. Love that. Now, right? You know what the now does, right? You know what the now does. The now shrinks him this big. Yeah. He doesn't say, go do that to Mordechai. He says, now. Right? You see the difference between do this and between now, right? Let's just not have any misunderstandings as to who's in charge and who's the you-know-what. Quick, take the clothing and the car, kasher divarta, like you said, and do that to Mordechai the Jew who's sitting out in the gate of the king. Don't leave anything out that you said. And the Gemara, it's so good. So Gemara says, he goes to Haman. He goes, oh great, my hair, quick. Take Mordechai the Jew who sits at the gate of the king. What do you think? How do you think Mordechai was known in the palace? Well, at this point, but he's not. He was a court, an officer of the court. So what do you think they called him? Occam's razor, Mordechai. They called him Mordechai. You know what they called Haman? Haman. They called Harvona. Okay, so if you're in the palace and you say Mordechai, I know exactly who you mean. But the king says Mordechai, the Jew that sits at the gate of the king. And the Gemara says that Achashverosh says to Haman, "Oh, quick, do that to Mordechai." And Haman's like, I know a lot of Mordechais. I know so many Mordechais, Your Majesty. I don't know which one you want. No, Mordechai the Jew. Mordechai the Jew. It's a very common name in Crown Heights, Your Majesty. Not as common as Mendy, but still very common. He goes, oh, no. The one that sits at the gate of the king. You know him, right? You know the one that never gets up for you, right? That guy, yeah, over there. Quick, do that. Why does the king have to say, Al tapel davar mikol asher dibarta? Don't leave anything out. You understand, if you're the king and you say, do this, you don't have to say, don't leave anything out, right? Dangerous game to leave something out, the king says, especially this king, because he's woohoo, yeah? So the Gemara says, why? Because Haman, tell me something. Do you think Haman would rather give Mordecai $10 billion or spend $0 and walk Mordecai around on a horse in Times Square? What do you think Haman would rather do? Oh, he will pay cash. This is going to be an Obama-Iran shipment. Cash billions, no problem on pallets. And he'll pay and he'll be happy because ain't no way I'm going to do a ticker tape parade with Morty the Jew. I can't stand that guy. I freaking hate him. Yeah. So it says, the Gemara says that Haman says to Achashverosh, Haman's a genius, you understand? Haman's really smart. So Haman starts backtracking what he said from the king. And he goes, well, your majesty, I know I mentioned that you should take the guy and dress him up and walk him around, but Mordecai, he's not that wealthy. He's not a wealthy guy. Maybe it would be better to give him a city, meaning an earldom, right? If you're the Duke of Windsor, you own Windsor, right? It's like maybe give him an earldom, or maybe give him the taxes from the Easy Pass on the 95. That's what he says. Give him one of the tolls, right? It's the Easy Pass 95. Every time you go by, $3, right? It's big money. Because why don't you just give him that? And the king's like, great idea. Also do that. So the Gemara says, yes, I love it. Wonderful idea, Haman. Yeah, that also. The city and the toll booth and dress them up. Quick. Don't leave anything out. Oh, delicious. So, Vayikach Haman es halavush v'asasus, and Haman takes the clothing and the horse. Vayalbishis Mordecai, and he clothes Mordecai. Right? Oh, you can't imagine. Yeah. And of course, the Gemara says, right? Mordecai's been fasting. He's weak. He's miserable. Right? So you know what that means, right? You gotta help him with the pants, right? Gotta help him with the pants. And Mordecai's like, "Oy, I can't lift my leg. Oy, my leg." And Haman's like, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, my hand is stuck. Oh, so sorry, Haman." And then get up on the horse. I can't. It's so high up there. It's so high. Maybe I can step on you. Haman's got to get down, Mordecai. It's like the humiliation you can't imagine, but Mordecai is yeah. So he takes it and he dresses up Mordecai. Vayarkiveu berchov ha'ir, and he rides him around on Fifth Avenue. Vayikra lefanav, and he calls out before him, Kacha yeyaseh la'ish asher hamelech hafetz bikaro. This shall be done to the man that the king wants to honor. Vayashav Mordecai el shar hamelech, and Mordecai returns to the gate. And Haman is pushed to his house in mourning and dirty of garbage in head. This is amazing pasuk. He walks him around in the parade, and when they're done with the parade, where does Mordecai go back? You think Mordecai is like, haha, I win. No. Mordecai went right back to the gate of the king, back to his sackcloth, took off the clothes of the king, put the garbage right back on, sat right back down in his spot. What, you think because Hashem did this, that means that we're done here? We're not done here. I'm in the middle of doing something. I'm going right back to what I was doing. And Haman goes back home. Avel v'chafoy rosh, two things. Avel means mourning, avelut. Why would you call him avelut? And what's chafoy rosh? Garbage of head. What does that mean? Says the Gemara. His daughter, famous story. His daughter here's Haman taking Mordecai around, and she goes, this is going to be amazing. And she goes up to the toilet on the fourth floor. You ever walk in Mea Shearim? You ever been to Mea Shearim? You ever get hit by flying sponja from the fourth floor? You never got hit by flying sponja? It's like what they have these the Cuban mop. Oh, a squeegee, yeah. And they're like, right? Oh, for sure. You've been hit by the dirty sponge. Of course, hit by dirty sponge of water. Absolutely. You know those hats that they wear with the umbrella on the hat? It's useful if you're gonna walk under some of those things, because Friday afternoon, girl, you're gonna get hit. Thursday night, Friday afternoon, you can't. That's why they all walk in the street. It's not a cultural thing. It's because of flying sponge of water. So she does the same thing. She takes the toilet She takes the toilet because they didn't have plumbing, right? They had like, nice latrine and dumps it on his head. But here's the best thing. So she thinks, of course, that it's Mordechai. She thinks the guy leading the horse is Mordechai. So she dumps it on the guy, thinking that it's Mordechai. It turns out it's Haman, it's her father. When she realizes that she just dumped a toilet on her father's head, she does a Peter Pan right off the roof and dies and commits suicide. So Haman comes back home, Avel, in mourning because his daughter died, Vachafoy Rosh, and crap all over his head. And now you say to yourself, how could she have made such a mistake? I don't understand. Like you can't see the difference between your father and Mordechai. I mean, first of all, honestly, Mordechai, let's level with each other, okay? Probably not 6'2" with a swimmer's body. Yeah, right. Just saying. Yeah, there was probably a lot of bearded going on. I'm projecting. I wasn't. What's that? Maybe. Well, but a Persian beard and a Jewish beard probably don't look the same. Knowing how Jews do, right? Knowing how Jews do. Chances are not, but maybe. But the point is, you know who your dad is, right? I mean, I hope, right? We do hope. So how does that happen? How does she not know the difference between her father and Mordechai? And the answer is, of course, she knows the difference between her father and Mordechai. How do you think it would have played if Mordechai was the one leading the horse, and she advertently dumped the toilet on his head? The answer is that's unclear, because he is also an official of the king's court. And remember, dad left at 3 a.m. to have Mordechai killed, and Mordechai's not killed. So if Mordechai's not killed, well, maybe I'm just advancing a theory. It doesn't have to be this, but just as a way of thinking about it. Maybe this is the concession prize. So he says, no, you can't kill him, but I'm going to make him walk you around. Okay. What if you dump the garbage on his head? What's going to happen? I don't know. Maybe you'll get in trouble. It has to be an accident. How do you make it an accident? By not looking. Just look for when the horse is coming. The horse is coming. You listen. Clop, 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 clop. Oops! She didn't look. That's why, I assume. I'm not sure, but I would imagine that's how. And then she dies, and he goes home, and it's awful. It's terrible. And Haman tells Zeresh, his wife, and all those who love him, all that has happened to him, which is so delicious. It's beautiful irony, because of course, in the beginning of fourth chapter, not third, in the fourth chapter, when Esther sends Hasach, the messenger, to Mordechai to see what's going on, what does it say? What is the language over there? The language is, sorry. Vayagid lo Mordechai is kol asher karahu. Mordechai tells Hasach in code, kol asher karahu, all that happened. And we said that the Gemara associates the word karahu with Amalek, because karahu means happenstance, an accident. So Amalek is asher karcha, that they happened upon you. So when he says, oh, I'll tell you what just happened, he knows exactly that it's code word for Amalek. This is exactly the way that Haman relates the story to his wife. So Haman says, Haman is called asher karahu. Exact same words. Everything that happened. What's going on? I don't understand. Why is this happening to me? And his wise ones, and Zeresh, his wife, said, if that guy is a Jew and you've started falling before him, lo tuchalo, you're not going to win. You're going to keep on falling, buddy. Odam medabrimimo. They were still talking to him. You'd ask why that's important, but I'll show you. Odam medabrimimo. They're still talking to him. And the officials of the king showed up. And they hurried to get Haman to the party that Esther made. Why does it have to tell you that they were still talking when the guards showed up? That's not important. It's not essential. You just say, and he went to the party. And the answer is because the point is that he was rushed. They rushed him. It's the same language as it says when they shot out all of the post horses. It says they were hurried out. They were hurried. It's the same word, mivohal. It means to rush. He was rushed. You say, well, why is he rushed? Why can't he say, excuse me, I have to take a shower, right? I have to take a shower. Come on. You smell mildly like diarrhea. yeah, and you're going to an appointment with the king and the queen. But you have no time because you see, Esther said we're starting at 8 o'clock. And here's the thing: maybe she's not a yeki, but you understand who doesn't wait, right? What happens if the king and queen show up and you're not there? You're dead. You're dead. As I don't remember which Louis it was, but he said, I have almost been compelled to wait. Kings do not wait. So, he's not done talking and they rush him there. So he's showing up. Now you say, why is this so important? Because remember what we said in the end of the 4th chapter. He said that Esther is at the party and she's got, the moment is there and she doesn't swing. And it says the reason she doesn't swing because there's no opening. Haman is sitting there all confident. Achashverosh is sitting there, but it's not going to work. So she doesn't know what's going to happen. What ended up happening in the next 24 hours? Achashverosh can't sleep. Haman has to take Mordechai, and he shows up rushed, stinking like a diaper, and after having been destroyed and told by his family that he's done. How do you think he felt at that party? Not his best. He is not at his best. So let's see what happens. Wonderful, we still have time. Perek Zion. Vayavo Hamelech v'Haman lishtos im Esther Hamalka. And the king and Haman come to drink with Esther the queen. Vayomer Hamelech leEsther gam bayom hasheni b'mishtei hayayin. And the king says to Esther also on the 2nd day at the party of wine, Mashe lasech Esther Hamalka. What is your request? What is your question, Esther the queen? Betina seinlach, and it'll be given to you. Uma bakashaseich. What's your request? Ad chatzia malchus v'se'as. Till half the kingdom, and I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. And you understand, before, when Esther actually came to Mordechai, listen to how he says this. At the first party, Ahasuerus sits down. Remember, he's very curious and he's somewhat perturbed about what might be happening in his family life. Vayomer Hamelech leEsther b'mishtei hayayin. The king says to Esther, not Esther the queen, Esther. The king says to Esther, Mashe lasech, what do you want? And it'll be given to you. That's not what he says here. That's not what he says here. Here he says, Ma she'elasech Esther Hamalka. Ma she'elasech Esther Hamalka. Now he calls her queen. So there's been a shift in his mind. So, Matan Esther Hamalka. And Esther the queen responds, Vatomar, and she says, if I find favor in your eyes, your majesty, tov, and if this would be good in your eyes to do, just give me my life as my request, and my people as my request. Sorry, my life as my question, and my people as my request. Because I and my people have been sold. Lehashmid, laharog, ule'abed. To be destroyed, murdered, and to be gone. La'abed means to make lost. As we mentioned, the reason you have to have all three of these is because to destroy means you destroy the item. It doesn't mean that there's nothing left. You can also destroy without killing people. You can destroy the institution of Judaism by taking everybody and putting them into convents. No, laharog. When I said destroy, I mean kill. That's how you're going to destroy. You better not leave them alive. You kill them. You say, yeah, but maybe you kill 99%. You weren't listening. La'abed. Lost. Don't leave any. No loose ends. And if we were sold as slaves, just as slaves, I would have been quiet. Because the trouble's not worth it in the damage to the king. Why not? Why isn't the trouble worth it in the damage to the king? She goes, I know that this is going to cause political issues for you. I would never cause a political issue for you if they were merely, putting me on a slave boat across the Atlantic. But they're going to kill me. Now you have to understand that the psychological shift in the mind of Ahasuerus is staggering. Up until this moment, he is convinced that she is cheating on him and that she's holding a secret back and that she wants to come clean, but she can't. emotionally. She just can't come out with it. That's what he thinks. All of a sudden, he says to her, okay, tell me. And she starts crying. And she says, I just want to live. I really just want to live. You save me and my people. Save me and my people. Save me and my people. You mean you're not, wait, you mean you and him? You mean this? Wait, that's not, oh. Kill you, you say? Kill you. Kill you. Kill you? You're mine. Who? I'll rip off his head and I'll spit down his neck. Listen to the words of Achashverosh. Vayomer Hamelech Achashverosh. Vayomer leEsther HaMalka. And the king Achashverosh says, and he says to Esther HaMalka. See, that's incoherent. Vayomer Hamelech Achashverosh. Vayomer leEsther HaMalka. And the king said, what does that mean? It means he's stammering. Why is he stammering? Because he's furious. Because my wife just told me I thought that something was wrong. Now I realize she's wonderful. I've always loved her. Oh, she's the best. Now I remember why I married in the first place. Someone wants to kill her. He can't speak. Listen to the words that he says. Vayomer, vayomer. And he says, Mihu zeh ve'ezehu. What does that mean? What does that mean? Mihu zeh ve'ezehu. Who is that and is that who? He's speaking like Dr. Seuss. Why is he doing that? Because he's nuclear rage. Who dares? My wife. Who? Asher Mala'oli Bo Lasos Cain. That thinks in his mind to do that. And she goes, him. Vatomer Esther Malka. And Esther, the queen, says, Vatomer Esther. And Esther says, Ish Sarva Oyev. A bad man, an enemy. Haman, hara hazeh, this evil Haman, him. The Haman nivas, and Haman melted. You have to understand. In Haman's mind, think about this. Very simple. Why was Haman elevated to the second most powerful human being on the planet Earth? Why? Answer is because Achashverosh fell in love with Esther. That's why. He was a low-level court official. Achashverosh marries Esther. He's head over heels in love with her. And he elevates Haman, the second in command of the whole world. So tell me something. That means that Achashverosh is so in love with Esther that he will elevate Haman to this high position. How do you think Haman feels about Esther? Haman loves Esther. Haman is Esther's best friend. She's the greatest thing that ever happened to him. In fact, that's exactly what he told his family after the first party. He says, and also Esther the queen didn't invite anyone else to the king's party except me. Esther's my best friend. Esther loves me. Esther's a yid. Oh, that was unexpected. So now he's done. Now, Haman and Haman was shocked from before the king and the queen. And the king gets up and storms out to the outer courtyard. And Haman immediately gets up to beg for his life. Because he saw that the evil was finished in the eyes of the king. The evil was finished in the eyes of the king? The evil was finished in the eyes of the king. What does that mean? I mean, first of all, is the king aware that Haman wants to kill all the Jews? Hell yeah, he asked him. They had a deal. So like, Achashverosh is going to blame Haman for that when he's the one who signed off on killing all the Jews? Like, you can't be mad at him for that. And like, Your Majesty, frankly, I didn't know that your wife was Jewish. So it doesn't really seem like Haman has that much to answer for. He's just be like, oh my God, I had no idea. If I had known that your chick was a Jew, I would have totally laid off the Jews. I didn't know. And that's like a pretty winning title, right? Why? He sees that the evil is done in the eyes of the king. Why is the evil done in the eyes of the king? I don't know. It's very strange. It's just interesting that Haman wants to kill my wife. What happened to my last wife? Oh, right. It was you, wasn't it? You killed my last wife. And now you want to kill this one. And you want my clothes, and my horse, and my hat. Oh, I get it. Achashverosh realizes at this moment that Haman's been playing him for a decade. Kol sa'elav hara, the evil was done and closed, ended, finished. Meis HaMelech in the eyes of the king. Haman realizes, why does the king get so angry that he walks out? This is what I think. I'm not sure about this, right? This could be totally false, but the king is incredibly angry. I understand that he's incredibly angry. Why does he walk out? Why does he walk out? So this is me projecting his psychology, so I could be totally, totally wrong about this. But I think if he thinks that Haman is trying to kill his wife, and that's why he's so angry, okay, you're very angry, kill Haman and be finished with it. But if I can't face you, it's because of the embarrassment. I realize that you've been screwing me for years. You can't look at him, he gets up, he storms out. And Haman knows exactly what the king is thinking. Exactly what the king is thinking. And the king comes right back in. And what happened? And Haman just then happened to fall right on the bed that Esther was sitting on. They used to eat on divans. Divan, whatever, couch. They used to eat on these couchy thingies. And the king says, oh yeah, you're going to conquer the queen also when I'm in the house. You're not even going to wait till I'm, dead. You're going to take her out now. The king just said that. And immediately the guards came out and covered his head. I mean, that's what they would do, right? They put the bag on your head. Yeah, over. And this is so good. Vayomer Charvona. And Charvona says, one of the guys in front of the king. You've met him before. You've met Charvona before. You met him in the beginning. Didn't we meet Charvona? I think we did. Yeah, I think we did. I'm not gonna look for it now, but I think you met him before. So Charvona, one of the Sarisim of the king says, Gam Haman. Gam, also. Yeah. Also, there's the tree that Haman made. Gam Hinei Ha'etz. Also, here's the tree. Where are they right now? They're in the palace. They're not in Haman's house. Where are the gallows? In Haman's house. So how can Charvona say to the king, oh yeah, also here's the tree? And the answer is, it's 100 feet tall. So he points out the window and goes, oh yeah, and there's the tree that Haman planted to kill Mordechai. You remember Mordechai, Your Majesty, don't you? Don't you remember Mordechai, the one who saved your life? Oh God, I wonder why he would want to take him out. Oh yeah, also here's the tree. Isn't that the tree that Haman made? Mordechai, for Mordechai, Asher Diber Tov ala Melech. That spoke good about the king. It's in his house, 100 feet high. Hang him on it. And they hanged Haman on the tree that he prepared for Mordechai. And the anger of the king was gone. Now you see, this is so significant. How long has the king been angry? Years. How do you know that? Because when was the anger in the beginning? When did it begin? It began with Vashti. It says when Vashti says no, his rage burned within him, because it was a horrible diss that she did to him. Right? This was not the plan. Yeah, they had a deal. They had a deal on the dance. And now she backed out of the deal. And I look ridiculous because I've spent 3 hours talking to all my friends about what a great pole dancer you are. And now you're going to be like, and they're all waiting for it. And they bought the tickets. And now you're not going to show up? Do you know? And not only that, do you know what she said to him? You know what she said to him? Oh, it's beautiful. What Vashti didn't just say, right? Because you think about it, you learn when you're a kid that she grew a tail, she broke out in pimples, right? Let me ask you a very silly question. Obvious question. Do you think that the king would want his wife dancing buck naked in front of everybody if she had pimples on the tail? Probably not, right? These are such things that we like to keep on the inside. Yes? Not for everybody. And yet, so if Vashti truly did have these issues, then what she should have said was, listen, honey, I want to be there. Don't get me wrong. It's not a good time. Maybe some retin-A, and we'll call Gary Rosenbaum to do a little snippity snip, and then I'll come dance. No conflict. Conflict averted. That's not what she said. She goes, him, that drunken hairy pig, he's going to tell me that I should, back when my father ruled, in my daddy's day, you are so drunk. You're a loser. You understand that drunk in the time of the Persian Empire means you're a loser. You know why? Because you can't handle your alky. You're a loser. She goes, you are not worth a stable boy in my dad's army. Not a stable boy. I could drink you under the table, you pathetic. How'd that play? Since then, he's been furious. But it said before, after these things, kishoch, when it waned, the anger of Achashverosh, says the Gemara, it waned. It didn't go away. He never got closure. For what happened with Vashti. When does he get closure? Here. Why? Because he blamed Haman. Haman is the reason that the whole thing happened, and it should have been averted, and we could have had a way out of it, and we should have gone to couples therapy. And because of Haman, it never happened, and he took her down, and now we try to take down the next one. Now he's dead. And now the king is chill. With that, we come to chapter 8, which Be'ezras Hashem, we will do either Sunday or Monday, so stay tuned, please, on the chat for that. And in 12 minutes, no, that's not true. I lied, really 13 minutes. We'll see if we're on time. In 13 minutes, we will commence with Parshas Truma, please God. The Neshamot should have an Aliyah. Peace and love.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.